For many obvious reasons, building a new home may seem like a better choice when compared to the purchase of an existing resale. But that isn't always the case. In today's video, we're going to cover the pros and cons between choosing new construction versus an existing home in Florida. And one of the biggest advantages to a newly built home is that it's been constructed to the standards of the most current building codes. But for the sake of comparison, let's take a quick look at the history of Florida's building codes. Stay with me. I know history and building codes in the same sentence sounds horrifically boring, but I promise I'm really only going to go over the highlights when significant changes were made so that you know exactly what to look for when you're purchasing a resale. We know that Hurricane Andrew had devastating effect on Florida in 1992, and it took a few years, but by 1996, some very important building standards were in place and being enforced for the public health and safety. Prior to Andrew, Floridians really didn't do much to prepare for an approaching storm. I grew up here and can really only remember my parents throwing the patio furniture into the pool so it didn't blow around and maybe dragging in a few potted plants. They certainly never boarded up any windows, and our hurricane supplies consisted of candles, Ritz crackers, spray cheese, and a couple cans of SpaghettiOs. Andrew really changed everyone's attitude and the way homes were being constructed. Concrete foundations with block walls that had been engineered with reinforcement. If a home was built with wood, it had to be heavily engineered. In 2004, Hurricane Charlie blew through at a Category 4. It wreaked havoc on our coast once again and was then followed by Francis, Ivan, and Jean, all within a 6-week period. Now, these storms showed us that the homes built after 1996 had an average of 40% less probability of damage and 60% reduction in the severity of that damage. So we knew that these changes that had been made were making a difference, but they left a lot of room for improvement. By late 2006, another round of significant changes to building practices was put in place. Once again, a focus was on roofing materials along with structural changes, addressing wind and flying debris, basically upgrading the strength of the whole house. Although hurricanes were certainly the catalyst for uniform building codes throughout the state, not all changes were about the storms. New codes addressing things like termite prevention, energy efficiency, fire and smoke barriers were all adopted at this time, and they've been continuously improved upon. From 2006 through to today, the Florida Building Commission had continued to update codes every 3 years, making Florida's homes safer and more efficient with each change. But as I promised, the biggest takeaway here is if you'd prefer not to build and are in the market for a resale, homes built after 1996 are likely a better choice. Built after 2006 are even better. And overall, younger homes will have higher regulation standards. But do keep in mind that many older homes have already weathered the storm. Some things can be updated to improve safety. Likely the roof has been or should be replaced, and hurricane strapping, nail patterns, and the materials installed at that time are going to adhere to the current codes. If the windows are replaced with impact glass or hurricane shutters are added, you'll enjoy a much safer home, and you're going to benefit from some insurance savings. If this information has been helpful, you know the drill. Smash that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time there's a new video. When comparing new construction and existing homes, the cost is definitely going to be one of the biggest factors in your decision. Brand new homes are more expensive, but you're starting out with everything new and under warranty, giving you many years before you have the expense of replacing things like the air conditioner, appliances, hot water heater, or even the roof. Depending on the year of the resale, and when any updates were made by the seller, you may have some major expenses in your near future when purchasing an existing home. But keep in mind that new construction also has a lot of hidden costs that many buyers aren't aware of, and they wind up going way over budget. Closing costs for new construction have additional fees that you're not going to see when you're purchasing a resale. It's because the builder snuck them in. There is such a thing as a builder's fee, and it's often more than $1,000. Then there's usually a required capital contribution for the community's homeowners association, and that can also range in the amount. The builder often passes on the expenses of the utility hookups for electric, water, and sewer as an additional charge, whereas you probably thought those would have been included in the base price of the home. In Sarasota County, the seller generally pays for dock stamps, which is a state deed tax, but new construction passes this expense on to the buyer instead. For reference, this tax on a $650,000 home would be around $4,500. And of course, you as the buyer are picking up the tab for title insurance when it comes to new construction. I've seen some really silly line items sucking up every penny possible, and sometimes you can negotiate, but you have to know what you're looking for. And this is why your realtor should come along with you when you're buying new construction. Now, here's something else you may not have thought about. An existing home has window treatments, light fixtures, and maybe ceiling fans. And even if you don't love everything that's there, at least you do have something in place. Same goes for things like towel bars and toilet paper holders, garage shelving, any upgrades or extras that the previous owner had done. Most new construction does not include any window treatments at all, and when it comes to lighting, they may provide a few recessed lights in select areas and the bathroom fixtures because it's mandated by the building code, but everything else is usually bought by and then installed by the owner after purchase, or it's going to be an upgrade. So either way, you have to budget. And when talking about upgrades, those beautiful model homes that you walk through are generally filled with many, many upgrades. Upgrades to flooring, cabinets, modifications to the floor plan, extended lanais and tray ceilings are the big ones. These can be real budget-busting surprises. So it's very important to do a preliminary run through those options and upgrades that you'll want with the developer's sales representative before you sign on that dotted line. A good realtor can be very helpful here because they generally know what questions to ask that will spark a deeper dive into those costs. Most of what I've talked about makes a reference to a community. That's because the majority of new construction in Southwest Florida is taking place in planned developments. There are a handful of builders that are building homes on single lots, and that's a great option, but definitely the minority when it comes to new builds. So be educated when you're shopping for a brand new home or a newer home. Many of these neighborhoods have CDD fees. That stands for Community Development District, and it's actually a government unit whose main power is to plan, finance, construct, operate, and maintain community-wide infrastructure and services. The CDD fees vary greatly among communities and are paid annually with your non-ad valorem tax. You're going to get that tax bill from the county tax collector. So, how long will you have to pay these CDD fees? It's kind of a moving target. These fees consist of two parts: an annual assessment for operations and maintenance, which can fluctuate up and down from year to year based on the budget. And then the second part being an annual capital assessment to repay the bonds purchased by the builder for the infrastructure. As the homeowner, you are now responsible for repaying this bond through an annual fee. Sometimes you do have the option to pay this portion off in a lump sum if you choose to. These new communities are beautiful and offer a wide range of lifestyle options, and they often have grand entrances that may be gated, community pools, clubhouses, and can get very elaborate with the amenities. Developers will subsidize the homeowners association budget and are in control until the community is 90% complete. At this point, you will see an increase in those homeowner association fees because up until the turnover, there weren't any reserves in place for budget line items like road resurfacing, the clubhouse roof replacement, and such. An established neighborhood will already have reserves in place, and you can review the budget to gauge if the reserves are healthy enough to avoid any future assessments. And while we're on the subject of communities, let's also talk a little bit about some of the differences you'll find when comparing new developments to an older neighborhood. And first is going to be location. New communities are usually going to be on the outskirts because they're sprawling into those agricultural and natural lands that once surrounded the city. This may put you a little bit further from the beaches or the downtown areas, so the location may not be as convenient as an established neighborhood. Older neighborhoods will have mature trees and landscaping. They may also tend to have larger yards that will allow fencing. New communities will have deed restrictions, and these are additional rules and regulations put in place by the Homeowners Association. They go beyond the county or city ordinances. These rules can be minimal, just enough to ensure that the homeowners maintain their property in such a way that preserves the property values within the neighborhood, but they can also be a little extreme. Timing, another big factor when choosing between new or resale. If you're moving to the area and are on a short timeline, or if you have recently found yourself homeless with money due to the sale of your house, a resale is going to be the quickest solution. A cash purchase can close the fastest. The title company usually likes at least 10 days, but most purchases are complete within 30 to 45-day periods, depending upon the lender. New construction won't be an option for you if you're in a hurry because delivery dates have really been stretched out by labor and material shortages. It's not uncommon to get occupancy dates a year or more after the initial contract signing on new construction. Some developers have gone back to building inventory or spec homes, and this eliminates the buyer's ability to choose the finishes or to create any type of customization to the home. Everything's already been pre-selected by the builder, and a couple of months before the completion, the home will be offered for sale with a much quicker move-in date. This has been a great way for the builders to adapt to the constant changing in the price of materials. Grabbing an inventory home could be a great solution if one's available when you need it. There are certainly differences between building new or buying an existing home. No matter what you choose, the most important thing is that it feels like home to you. Whatever your situation, if you're moving to the Venice, Sarasota, or surrounding areas like Englewood or Northport, I'm here to help. I'm going to leave my information below so that you can easily find me if you need me.